Say whatever you want.
So I'm calling this meeting at 7 p.m. April 3rd, Town Hall, attendance appointment of alternates. We don't have our alternate. Nicole is not here, but she is on her way via text sheet. Just let you know. So there we go.
I texted you.
I got you. I just said that. So we will go on to 4A, which is the registrars of voters. So if everybody can get to their section, which is tab 210054149.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
So you're telling me probably.
Oh, yeah, we do need her too, huh? You guys have to start with that, right? This is not the one I want.
I'm not showing anybody yet.
I think there has to be,
Notice somebody not being.
yeah. There has to be a way that like they can knock or something. Not knock, but you know what I mean. All right. So registrars of voters. Hello.
Hello.
We'll try to make this quick. Did you have to be up early? So. I know you did a presentation for the selectmen, but I'm gonna ask you to give us a little of the information. Because in reading your stuff in the budget book, for me, it's a little confusing because I guess you guys are not agreeing on some portions of it. And I'm not fully understanding where that is, so maybe you can help me. If you give us a brief synopsis and then kind of detail of the.
For those of you who don't know, I'm Angelo Severino, the Democrat, register of voters. And I think I have a visual COVID problem with my voice. I apologize for how it sounds. Let me begin by offering our apology for not showing up for the last scheduled workshop. Both Karen and I interpreted the last email to suggest that it was not mandatory to attend. We felt that when we had presented it to the Board of Selectmen, and that is essentially what the Board of Selectmen gave you. It's not necessary, but in any event, we will apologize. We didn't need to cite anybody. The issue in our budget is simply the stippling that Karen and I received. They've asked.
Thank you.
Step up here, so they can see what I can.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi.
The issue is that we've been requesting a 30.9% increase in the stipend for Karen and myself. The other items of the budget, I'd be glad to answer any questions on, but there was no significant difference of opinion between what Karen and I had come up with and what ultimately was recommended. The Lion Guides manual, we're requesting 30.9%. The stipend should be a reflection of our job responsibility. We tried to give you in our packet of material, the document we get from ROVAC, identifying all the different areas that we have to be knowledgeable in. And that job responsibility should also include the numerous charges that were given by the Secretary of State's office, some of which are not in effect yet. But our responsibilities as registrars has increased exponentially since I became a registrar, I think back in 2014. It's been 2%, and it's always been 2% that I know of. And I don't think that's reflecting on the reality of what today's registrars have to do. We're required to take at least 8 continuing education courses a year in order to maintain our certification. Certification is something that is required, and you have to pass a test to be certified. The minimum 8 hours is generally received by us at attendance at the ROVAC annual, semi-annual conference. That's where they present the continuing education units. If we don't go to that conference, we don't have access to getting a sufficient number of CEUs in here. The ROVAC semi-annual conference is a 3-day event. I'm going to miss it this year because it starts tomorrow. And we have a a problem. In that, I don't know where I'm gonna get my, but we'll take it up with the new Secretary of State. The two big things that are generating a concern to us are what early voting is going to do and what the absentee ballots, the use of absentee ballots without any reason. They're generally going to increase the total number of absentee ballots we get. We're gonna have to staff up for that. Same thing as respects the Secretary, not the Secretary of State's, the use of absentee ballots to generate a vote. The third factor became the redistricting. Prior to the redistricting, we didn't have two lines here in the second district. Now we're going to have two lines. Two lines means we have to have twice the staff. And I think that's been adequately addressed in the recommendation for the salaries of our workers. These people have to work anywhere from 10 to 15 hours for the salary we give them, and it's getting increasingly difficult in order to get people that want to work that length of time under those conditions. For example, this is going to be the first time in my tenure that we've had to go outside of East Windsor to hire a moderator. We're getting a moderator in the town of Enfield. We have presently a 4-hour window on Tuesdays. That's the only time we're scheduled to be in the office in order to receive telephone calls from voters or walk-ins or whatnot. That has become impossible for us to complete everything we have to do. We come in for more than 4 hours. Not on any scheduled particular day, just as the need arises. We don't have a clerical staff. We have to do all the filing ourselves. And really, that is something that we put in to the salary workers, the ability to hire a clerical individual. It's just basically my position that for so long, the 2% has been acknowledged, and we are not in opposition to having our budget have a negative impact on the citizens of East Windsor so that their taxes are increased. We would just as soon not have that happen, but it's not realistic. This is 2023. It's not realistic to expect us to be able to do that on a 2% budget. So it's basically, we think the stipend is inadequate at 2%. We've factored in what we think is going to be necessary to properly service the registrars and their service to the town. And I think we need to work more. We need to work more. I think we need to be paid more. That's essentially what our budget is recommending. And I'll be pleased to take any questions. Aaron, did you want to add anything?
No, I just kind of wanted to know what we were not agreeing on, what you.
I'm not sure, there was an email in the beginning, and that's what confused me. It was something.
I think
Um,
Angelo didn't put in for the whole 100% increase. Instead of doubling it, going to 64, you only put in like $10,000 or $15,000 more. I think that was the difference.
Right, but so the way I took the comment was that he and I were not agreeing on something.
No, there was something, I would like to address an issue we discussed, not in favor of doubling our work schedule, while only asking for an increase of 1/3 of our existing pay. Angelo knows I do not agree with him writing it up this way, so I wasn't sure how it was written up. That was your email
Okay.
to Jason. I didn't understand what that meant. Like, how did he write it up wrong? Cause it just says. Your email to Jason says, I would like to address an issue we discussed. I am not in favor of doubling our work schedule while only asking for an increase of 1/3 of our existing pay. Angela knows I do not agree with him writing it up this way.
Right.
I don't know of any other department official that would be subjected to this. So that was my question.
Okay, because I think originally it went in at double the hours. But we are in agreement that we have to put more hours in,
Okay.
but not necessarily double the hours. And I think that we both agree on that point.
Well, whatever transpires, I think will require the input from the Board of Selectmen. Also, whether we're going to expand the availability of the registrars in the work, in the citizens of East Windsor, and also be able to handle what it is that we expect to come down from the Secretary of State, which quite frankly is intimidating. But nevertheless, we're gonna have to discuss that. Questions?
Thank you. Some of the proposals for the early voting range from, I think there's 3 bills out there. They range from a few hours to 14 days additional voting. Secretary of State is supporting 10 extra days, including 2 full weekends. And then we get Monday off to rest before the election. However, I don't think they worked in a registrar's office on a Monday before election because there's not a lot of resting going on. But I just think, 10 extra days. And they probably will not be full days. They'll probably be more like 8 to 10 hour days, not 16 to 20 hour days. But it's still a big time commitment.
I can easily see our responsibility with respect to absentee ballots.
Thank you, sorry.
Tripling, if not quadrupling, what we're gonna have to do in conjunction with town clerk's gonna have to do, which is a whole different issue, but town clerk has the ability to request assistance. The way we've operated, we just grant that if they need it. But this is going to be a problem that has to be addressed, and I suspect what's going to happen is whatever the legislature does, will be about 24 hours before the election coming up in November. And we're just not gonna have enough time to prepare.
They are planning on this year's election.
Do we know how registrars in surrounding areas, what their salaries are? Or are they paid on a stipend, or is it?
Roback did a survey. But it only included 162 registrars. There are, what's the number we came up with?
There's 2 for each town.
2 for each town, so that's 320. The study was done by the president of Roback. It tried to quantify number of hours worked, whether you were paid a stipend or a salary per hour. And we looked at that. And in my opinion, the data was not valid, or at least wasn't proven to me to be valid. I didn't know where it came from to say, well, I agree with those numbers or not, but there is a study out there. I think the president did it a year ago.
Yeah.
I mean, we can try to obtain a copy. I didn't keep one, but if you want one.
I'm just curious, yeah.
And some registrars have full-time clerical staff. Some have part-time clerical staff. Some registrars are full-time, some are not. So it's kind of hard to compare apples and oranges to.
And then I guess, so just looking at the supply line, it looks like the spending last year was a lot more than what we have budgeted. Do we think that we have enough budgeted in the supply line, or what was the?
We bought the cabinet for them,
Oh,
because
okay.
we had it within the budget.
Okay, perfect, so that's the why, okay, thank
We
you.
had to replace a lot of the posters that you see. It's not a big ticket item, but nevertheless, they have an age limitation and they reach that.
Okay.
We're gonna use the same ones this year, so I'll have to purchase them again.
Perfect, thank you.
I'm just confused that your first statement here says that you're gonna have to double your hours. From 8 to 12 to 8 to 4. Now you're saying you're not gonna double your hours. Am I missing?
That was where the confusion was at the very onset. But I think we've come to the conclusion that it would probably be between 6 and 10 hours, 6 and 8 hours a week, as opposed.
Oh, a week, okay.
Yeah.
That's my mistake.
As opposed to 4. Because right now, we're not even working 4, we're working anywhere from 4 to 6. multiple days, some weekends.
I just had a couple questions about this spreadsheet, which I think is the most recent one. And it details, each person's salary and how many of them you use for each election. And one of the categories is ROD. So does that mean that, in addition to your stipend, when you work the election, you also get paid for that, or am I misinterpreting?
Just primaries and referendums, not
Oh.
full elections.
Okay, so yeah, it says ROV 5. So that money is on top of your stipend, right?
Right.
Okay. The other question I had, when I look at this, the total was 45,950. And the amount that was recommended to us was 36,750. So that's almost 9,000 less than what you would originally recommended. Yeah, this is. That seems like a bit of a shortfall.
I promise I was not sneezing into the back.
Allergies are starting to tick up. So Amy,
Yes,
on the historical comparison you gave us. On theirs right here on FY 24, it says 42289 for registrars and voters and 45950 for election office workers, right, in the book?
yes,
Dated to 12/28.
yes.
So then on ours, right,
So the 32,935 was what the Board of Selectmen put through, which was just the 2% raise
okay,
for the first line, and then 36,750 was Marie's back of the envelope math at a Board of Selectmen meeting to come up with what she thought we needed,
okay,
right? I mean,
Well, based upon the.
For the election
information that
workers,
they
based
provided
on this.
Per worker and how many referendums
right,
there was gonna be, the $25,000 didn't cover that. And that, when you did the back of the paperwork math, that's what you come up with.
Oh, I see.
okay.
So if you read your narrative, Tom,
Yeah,
it says they need so many of this type of poll worker, so many of this.
Right,
type of
yeah.
poll-
that's when I looked at their spreadsheet, which detailed it, okay. It came up with a 45,950,
And
which is a little bit more finite than back of the envelope, perhaps.
I don't know what you have, I haven't done them.
Okay.
There, I don't know if something's been.
this is
added
the
or
second
something's
set of
taken
numbers, I
away.
think there was a first set. Yeah, the first set came to us at 24,
Right,
so she was adding to their 24
Right,
before this came,
right, but it ended up at
36,
3750, which looks like not,
still short, right?
it's still short, I guess is what I'm saying.
If you look at the trends, obviously, we're nowhere close to that, 13.7, 13.7.
Right, well, if you look at the
Oh, yeah.
spreadsheet, there's also salary increases for a lot of folks too, so there's additional money for that.
I think some of that was done, some of the salaries that they were getting was not even a minimum wage.
Right, right,
$225 to work 16, 18 hours.
right.
All right. I see. All right, anybody else? No? All right, well, thank you for answering those questions.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
We met your deadline.
Yeah, right.
All right. We're on to senior services.
You're supposed to be going after the block?
Excuse me?
Don't get Amy going, please.
I don't know where to go, so you don't drive us there.
All right, senior service. Tab five. Good to go. All right, and then my tab.
Leave me.
Yeah, this one's mine.
Promise I'm not asking for any more hours. So we'll start with senior services first. And, not sure if you have specific questions, just, or if you want me to talk about anything specifically.
There's not a lot of change.
No, so everything is either contractual or the nutrition manager, part-time administrative assistant change.
I mean, you've changed by $976. It's not like. Does anybody have any questions on senior service? Don't. What's this exact name? All right. That was an easy one. Elderly commission, literally, it is just the same recording secretary.
Yes, and we're going to be rebuilding that commission. Unfortunately, all but one of my members passed away. So we are starting from scratch.
No.
We'll be redoing that in the coming months.
All right, we are on to social services.
Again, contractual. Well, hopefully contractual changes will be coming forward with the settling of the clerical contract. And as you know, we've had an uptick in relocation for the Federal Relocation Act. And also an uptick in evictions due to the COVID pandemic restrictions going away. So both of those lines in the current budget year have run over. We're hoping to have at least 3 of the families out in the next month. And we had 1 person come off the books 2 weeks ago. So
Leaving us with what?
4.
And no anticipated date on those 4.
I'm hoping the next month, we're able to put in some language with the assistance of our town attorney in regards to encouraging them to do weekly check-ins with me in regards to them getting permanent placement. I'm required to show them opportunities for permanent placement at local apartment complexes that are within their budget. And they have to bring me back a signed copy from the leasing agent showing that they're at least attempting to get into those locations. Unfortunately, some of their finances don't allow them to get into some of those locations. And unfortunately, their living situations prior to whatever happened, the fire or the tree falling on their house wasn't exactly on the up and up in regards to landlord and tenant working together. And so it's put us in a kind of a awkward situation. And one of the relocations is actually going to court in the next week. Because their attorney it's a concerned individual and their attorney has stopped replying to us. So now our attorney is taking care of that for us. So that one hopefully will be coming off very soon. And that's almost a year and a half in the hotel.
So I guess with a do you feel like, I mean, everybody's saying all these things happen without warning, but do we feel that we've asked for enough? Like historically, this just was, oh, crazy year, like we don't typically see this happen.
We don't typically see this happening, although our new building official and fire marshal are cleaning up some apartments and properties in town that may have some past practices that weren't cleaned up and are now potentially going to be put on the books. So in anticipation, I'm a little nervous about it. But if I can get those off and potentially new ones coming on, maybe it'll be a wash. It's hard to, it's
Yeah,
hard to say. I mean, we
yeah.
had 3 fires in
Yeah.
6 weeks that one time.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna, with that doesn't happen, but I mean, I got Amy on speed dial.
Yes.
We definitely
in a
got,
few months.
Yes,
Yeah.
we know.
yeah,
Yes.
I mean, we've gotten kudos from other people in the state of Connecticut because a lot of towns, they aren't amicable to following the federal relocation and are rolling the dice on whether they'll be willing to be taken to court. And I just don't feel like that's appropriate.
Yeah.
So.
Any other questions? Great. Then we are on to Park and Rec.
Again, nominal change and with the hopefully clerical contract getting signed. That will take care of that increase. And the permanent part-time increase is in there as well as the state mandated minimum wage increase.
You're obviously in charge, no, where your salary is split amongst all these 3 budget
No,
lines?
so mine is just housed in Parks and Recreation.
That admin salary is her in full.
Gotcha. I see it.
That would take you, that was a good question.
Go again. There's hardly a change, so
I mean, the request was 0, so we
everything's contractual.
follow that request and work
Yep.
within our means.
That you do. Thank you for that. Any questions? All right. She's gonna make it up. Oops, sorry.
I'd be happy to go out of order if that would help.
Nope. Excuse me. All right, IT. Public Works, Town Property, Road Improvement. Building. What is that?
ID is first and it's in the, that too,
Okay, let's,
get them numerically.
we're doing IT first.
Yeah, IT first.
They're in tab 2 with the general government.
Excuse me. No, grab one.
Any questions?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that, wait a minute.
I was gonna say,
That's a question.
I knew he was coming.
Hello, good evening. I'm Lenny's better half.
Well, that's the other half. Thanks, Tommy.
So, this is just a brief, I was in front of the board of selectmen a couple of weeks ago, and they agreed with me that, this was important for us to do. What I want to do is I want to implement a better cybersecurity plan on the emails. And unfortunately, there's a cost to it, and that's why I'm here in front of you. And this would be the best time for you if you'd add it into our budget. The handout I gave you is basically what I'd like to purchase is the cloud-based Barracuda. And basically, in a nutshell, what it'll do is when someone gets an attachment, it will not get downloaded to our system. It'll stay in the cloud. If you click on it, it will open in the cloud, and if it's spam or anything bad for our system, it will stay there and then ask you again, would you really like it to come to your PC? And then by then, you know, the employee should say, whoa, maybe not. And it will stay in the cloud, or they have the option to open it in the cloud, because maybe it was just somebody attached it different or what have you. So it will give us a lot better protection with all the emails, and spam mails have spiked up from, maybe we were getting 3 to 5 a day. We're up to individuals are getting 3 to 5 a day, with probably somewhere between 20 and 25 a day of just somebody trying to get into our system. Somebody trying to download malware, download something to corrupt, or, you know, who knows what they're doing. I mean, these hackers are really, really good. We've done a bunch of good things at no cost. We've increased our password protection. We've done a lot, but this is really important. This is really important to me, because somebody's clicking on something someday. And if you look at the second page, you can see what the FBI is ranging for, what it's going to cost for hacks. Those numbers are in the trillions. So for you know, it boils down to being about $5 an email. $5 per user in our email system, which boils down to about $15,000 a year. What I'm asking to increase my.
And what's that gonna go under professional?
Yeah, what's
service?
our line?
No, I want to put it under purchase services. And we can call it, we'll call it Barracuda. I can itemize it out.
Like the licensing
Like,
or
yes.
under tech services?
No, tech services is just support.
Okay,
So it's gonna go under the purchase services, which is, you know, it's a service we're purchasing like we do with Outlook and like we do with, well, not Outlook software.
And
But like I do with my warranty stuff.
Is that an
so
additional
professional
line?
services?
Cause like you don't have a purchase service line in IT.
If
We do it
Yeah.
here.
Well, we do. It's the second line.
Oh, not on the printout of this
Not on the
budget.
printout.
Okay, well, when we call- what's this? No, no.
So it wouldn't
What's
be
this?
there.
Tech-
SW tech, I have professional service, tech service, SW
Yeah.
license.
Tech
cable,
service
tech-
is not tech service, and I don't know why it's labeled that way.
Cause
That's
that's
my
probably the
professional
core,
service.
okay. That's
Put it under
professional
tech
services.
service, which is fine. You can consider it as tech service.
we're adding. 15.
Wherever.
Well, I would like to add $15,000 to that line. I can fund it out of this year's budget to July 1st, which I'd like to, you know. I'd like to implement it right away, which I will. But it's important. It really is important. It's the next step. Amy just had me fill out the cyber audit for the cyber insurance. And they're saying in the email they sent her, within the next couple of years, there were 10 items that we will need to do. This is the last of the 10, and we're so current and we're so, you know, dialed in with this, which it's a lot better than, you know, I thought. I humbled last week or 2 weeks ago to the Board of Selectmen, because I don't feel I devote the time to IT like I do all my other departments. And so I made it a vow, and it's just, there's something I want to do.
So, Joe, now this is probably a silly question, but I don't know. So this would apply to all town emails, so like even like our emails? Like, or how does that work?
It won't, if you open your emails on your
Right.
hardware, you corrupt your hardware, you corrupt.
So, the question is-
So, no.
Because I know this has happened. I opened an email I shouldn't have one time when I was on the Board of Ed, and it like shut down all of their emails. I was like, and then.
Well, they have an email server, they do
So
it a little
it's
different than I do.
Okay, all right,
We have Outlook, which is a cloud-based email service.
okay,
It's a cloud-based server. You're protected to not encrypt the
Okay.
town stuff.
gotcha.
As far as your own personal stuff,
I'm on my own, I got it.
there you go.
Okay.
The only thing I can recommend to you is turn it off, turn it back on, and then call me. Okay? That's what happens. We tried that today with Jay's computer, it didn't work.
I mean, there's stuff coming every day. I'm getting all kinds of requests. This is the
Right.
invoice from Jay. Please pay, send this wire, please
You
pay
got
this.
Unemployment from Matt Carl.
Yeah.
My
Unemployment, from
company-
unemployment.
Yeah, my company sends us test ones all the time to see if we fail.
Yeah, well, that's the next step.
Yeah, I get those.
Really?
Yeah.
But there's a lot of,
And they
lot
look
of stuff
real,
coming
it's
through.
like- It always says something about your bonus or something.
Yeah, you gotta open it.
That is our next step, but we, last year in August, we had the whole, everybody in the town sit down for a Kerma class. And I'm gonna recommend everybody gets a refresher this year.
So technically you were gonna go down in the purchased services line, so now we're just going back up a little less than 10.
Yes,
I still got one question. You said that if they open it and it's in the cloud. Does it stay in the cloud? Or can it get into the system if they open it the second time?
If they open it and it is something that's from the bank, but it didn't look like it was from the bank, we'll just use the bank for instance. Then they're allowed to bring it in, but it will stay there until they say, oh yeah, that's mine, and bring it in. But it will detect anything that it thinks it's fraud. Or have malware or keystroke there's, we know you're,
it's crazy.
yeah, you're BC
I'm
before
BC.
computers, we
Yeah.
got,
I get it. I just want to know that it stays out there as long as possible.
it'll stay and then it'll red flag, then I will get an email. Or the support will get an email, I mean, the structure we've turned into now was, we had a server go down last night. And it was like, my phone went crazy, Entree's emails went crazy. And unfortunately, it was the old Phoenix server that didn't mean anything, but it said. We were up at 3 o'clock this morning trying to figure out what was going on. And they can remote it, I have to walk in, but I didn't come down in, I didn't come in, but I would have if I had to, but it just. Other than that, IT's only increase is, with some software, because obviously software is market driven anyways, and. The police are doing a lot of different things and it's. We're victim to it, it's kind of like that other budget Geraldine loves so much. We can't do nothing without it. And it's only getting worse.
Still though, even for 25,000 is pretty cheap for IT services.
Well,
Any other town.
when all we pay our consultant, all we budget for our consultant is 22,000. And that's where I have enough there to fund this for the next 3 months. And it's all coming out of the consultant line. Because we're doing well and, we're on that replacement program and we run it pretty efficient.
Any questions for Joe? Or any more questions for Joe?
Thanks. Glenn will take over.
Thank you. Public Works.
Public Works.
Are you there?
Yeah,
Okay,
we're there.
I want to make sure. When I calculated our full-time salary line, apparently I had too much in there. I did something. So instead of the 1016732, it's going to be 1006421. Which is full-time salary. You got?
Yeah, thank you.
I would actually like to take the difference I was off there, it was about 10 grand, and I would like to, if I could, move that down into my part-time salary, which I brought down and kept even though we could probably use a little more, if it would be okay, and make that line 23.5 instead of 13.5, and that would leave all the lines the same as what I submitted. If you would be so inclined to do that.
We'll talk about it.
Just throw it out there. And everything else is pretty well itemized there, and you can see we're, other than that area, we're at zero everywhere else for our increase.
So Amy, the line that's DPW BOE $ with the credit. Is
So the
that
full-time salary has 100% of the shared
Okay, that's what I thought.
person, that
I
was
wanted to make sure.
new. Actually, during this year, so last year's budget did not have either of those in it. So that's one of the big increases between the 948 now and the 1006.
Mhm.
Is that body, and the auditor told me I had to do it in full, and then the offset goes against it in also a salary line,
Gotcha.
but netted out of it. So
Okay.
it looks a little different in this year's budget.
Wanted to make sure. Audit was. Does anybody have any other questions? Yep. Town property.
No problem. No, it wasn't. Town property. Okay, I'm not sure what version you have. But, we never do get our hydrant number from Connecticut Water Company until after the budgets are due. Not quite sure why, it's just the way it works. So the actual for the fiscal year 24 request for the hydrants ends up being $445,605.
Which is in your munis report, not in your schedule from them. So if you have the Excel that they did that looks like this,
Yeah.
that doesn't have it in there, but the report
Yeah.
that I printed off munis does have it.
And unfortunately, there's nothing we can do about that. I mean, it's just what Pura let them do.
Well, you can also see we missed this year too. Because we budgeted 402 and last year our actual was
Yep.
404. So we have to make up that in addition to accounting for their numbers.
I mean, we have a few areas where we've gone down a little bit, a few areas where we've gone up. Our vehicle maintenance, we're increasing only by $10,000. We're likely gonna be, well, we are gonna be over this year.
Right now, currently,
On
we're
vehicle
9,000 plus. We're 9,000 in the hole.
So, I mean, and we have a mechanic. So that's basically the cost of the parts. We had 3 cats stolen from senior buses. That was a nasty bill. And again, it was just the parts, but, I mean. They snuck into our fenced-in area and stole them. So, supplies were going up a little bit to get a few supplies, equipment, electricity, and, streetlights went down a little bit, propane's the same. We're increasing our heating oil by a little bit for the market, as well as the gas and diesel. Let's see, building repair, we kept the same. The phone's gonna go down just a little bit. So. All in all, it's not a huge increase, but. It's mostly what we need to do business. Actually, it's completely what we need to do business, not mostly.
Do you have any questions?
Next item, road improvements. Looking for the same. No increase.
Easy. The building committee is just.
Well, building committee I get stuck with for some reason. It's the cost of the secretary, or Do you still call them secretary?
Recording clerk.
Recording, whatever, okay. Whatever it's called. Recording, secretary, recording secretary. You got it right.
Yeah.
Then we're on to sanitation.
Sanitation. My favorite topic. Basically, we're in a contract. And the numbers that we project are the best numbers we can come up with based upon the amount of trash or recycling that people dispose of. Most times it works, sometimes it doesn't. I went through it again today, because I knew I was coming here tonight with my contact. And the best that we can figure is the numbers I'm using are the best numbers we can come up with now. The single stream recycling has crazy fluctuations in it. We're using a number for this year that was around, I'm gonna use a round number, I think it's 38 or something, I'm gonna say 40. Well, I looked at his printout that he sent me as to where it's going, it's been 90, 92, 80, and then it drops down. It started low, went up, and then it drops down, so.
We're already spent this year.
Yeah.
We're at 40,269 on a 41,220 budget.
It seems to be on a downward trend. Unfortunately, we have 3 months left.
I'm thinking overall sanitation is gonna be about $60,000 in the hole in the current year.
I don't see that. I went through that today and I'm not saying that, I don't know how it could happen. Disposal is like a given, other than the fuel surcharge. So I don't know. That's why I sat with the gentleman today, well, on the phone. And tried to get the number. I told him, I said, I'm going to the Board of Finance tonight. I don't want to have my butt handed to me. I need good numbers. And we went through everything twice. He says, I don't know what else to tell you. Those look like good numbers. Oh.
Question, so I know we implemented the new program for bulk pickups.
Yep.
Where does money from that go?
It doesn't cover the cost,
Okay.
so it's in another fund.
Okay,
We are using the NIF money that we're getting to both pay for the dumpster that it goes into and to cover the disposal of it that's not being covered by the people. You are not paying enough to get rid of your stuff, but better than leaving it on the side of the
Right.
road.
Yeah, well, we're gonna work on that too. There's gonna be an increase.
Okay.
Well, it's a good program. Because if we pick it up on the side of the road, we have to get rid of it anyhow. So this way, we're at least. And I would say most people bring it to us.
Okay.
I mean, if they want us to pick it up, we will, but we charge them to do that. And most people bring it to us, and I mean, they still put it on the side of the road, which amazes me, because if you're putting it in your vehicle to bring it somewhere, why not bring it? Or, but no, I guess it's easier to go to East Road, I don't know. But I think the program's working well. I mean, we take tires, metals, we always took the electronics and the TVs and the mattresses, which don't cost us anything, that's just they just take the stuff and. But the bulk stuff we have to pay for, and I still think it's a good program, but we do have to look at it was our first year, we have to look at doing something with the cost.
but essentially, to my point was just seeing, so we're not making anything on that. Okay,
Oh, no, it's not a moneymaker.
okay.
Garbage and making money. That's an oxymoron.
Oh, there's some people making money with garbage.
Well, yeah. Why?
That's all I'm saying.
Otherwise. All right.
But
Any
at least
other-
are we on a downward trend now that COVID is over and people aren't cleaning out their houses, or can that be factored in, or I know that was. I mean, that would have been
It's pretty high. The
No,
numbers are still pretty high.
They're still, people are still. People are still cleaning out.
tonnage is there. I mean,
Oh.
70% of the population still works from home.
Yeah, there's a lot of, I would too, I don't know the number for real, but. I know most of the time I try to contact somebody that works for the DOT. They're not in the office. And they don't even want you to leave a phone message on their office phone. They say, email me, it'll be better, I'll have a better chance of getting it, so. I don't know why. Joe and I didn't miss a day. So, but, you know, I don't get it, but I guess if they're allowed to do it, they're gonna do it.
Any other questions? Great, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Selectmen? Any questions?
Yeah, could you, that's,
Anything?
I have a 45-page PowerPoint presentation.
Not?
My computer died this morning though, so that's not what I'm gonna be sharing with you tonight.
Good timing.
Yeah, the hard drive, it'll be ready tomorrow. The hard drive cracked out like 2 minutes after I just finished backing everything up onto the server, so it actually worked out just fine.
Got to. All of them.
Okay, I really don't have very much in any of the 4 budgets I'm gonna present that's all that interesting. Very straightforward. I really am, and I was somewhat joking about this at the outset of things, but I'm really just gonna ask if anybody has any questions about them, and I'll do the best I can to answer. But I really don't have much that's in. So.
No, I have a few questions, but my book just.
Okay. Well, if there are any questions or comments on the selectmen's budget, I'll do those, and then we can move on to the next one, which is ethics, which is just also standard. And then I've got some of the activities and fees, and legal. You want to just go to legal?
You go back to you, I booked in all part of it. I know I read it. Just remind me. Just remind me what moved professional service wise to bring us down. I know it's in here.
Oh, no, we added 25,000 this year, so it's actually the
Right.
same number for the police chief search.
Okay, that's what.
So that was a
Thank
transfer
you.
I did with you guys.
and, for travel, is that just due to gas?
No, that stipend, I can't remember last time that's been adjusted. That was probably been 15 years. That the travel stipend for the first selectman has been fixed. That extra 300 is for another member of the board of selectmen to attend the CCM conference in November.
All right, I got my question. Anybody else? I'm selecting part. All right.
We did no charter revision because it's not up
Yeah.
in this budget.
I'll do it.
It will be in the next one,
Again?
every 5 years.
Just did. Oh, but yeah, I feel like.
So it's an 18, the charter revision process, if you do a full one, is an 18-month process. And so we did it in November of 2020 was when it stopped, so we would need to start it in July of 24 to get to November of 25 votes. If there are any changes.
Gotcha. All right. All right. Any other questions? All right, legal.
So the legal budget has been unaltered since I took office. It was 280,000 when I got here, it's 280,000 now. It's been a very manageable dollar amount with one exception, which was a very costly labor matter involving a now former police officer. But other than that, I've been right in the wheelhouse the whole way.
And you think you're gonna be okay this year?
Yeah. The only contract, well, once. So the. Major fluctuation, if you're gonna talk about known unknowns. Is the number of labor contracts that are out. We should be very shortly resolving the clerical one. The police negotiations, as you know, are going into mediation, so that. Time frame, I don't really know what that time frame is.
Yeah.
And that the only contract that we have that's that we've received a demand to negotiate. Is the public works employees, and they will, so that contract ends on June 30th, so we'll be commencing negotiations. Mid to late spring on that. Last time Amy, Len and I did that off the record in, I think, 3 sessions. I think the total cost to us for that last negotiation was like $3,000. I don't expect that that's what's going to happen this time. I think it's going to be a formal negotiation this time. But just as if past is prologue, that union is not terribly difficult to work with.
Any other questions? All right. Then we're on to activities and fees. Well, we did a couple that were in there.
Yeah.
but, Yeah,
Remind me about non-negotiated wages too, when we're done with activities and fees.
well, they're all, yeah.
Um,
Got rid of that other one.
So a number of these are per capita assessments that are levied on the town based on either our census number or our DPH census number. There's 2 different numbers that are used. If an organization uses the decennial census, that's the one that's issued by the Department of Commerce. Comes out once every 10 years, years ending in a 0. The other census number that is sometimes used by these organizations is the DPH census. They update the population census annually, and so that's why the change in per capita numbers may be a little bit different. So for example, well, I can tell you probate, North Central Health, Prague, Metro Hartford Alliance, Greater Hartford Transit District. Those are all per capita assessments. So just to take an example of that, Metro Hartford Alliance went down by $55. Greater Hartford Transit District went up by $33, which tells you that if their per capita number is the same, they're using different census numbers in order to get to that. So that could be the decennial number is locked in at 11,150, and DPH might say we're at 11,180. You know, so that could be the distinction there. The CCM number, I just want to point out, this is 13 of the last 14 years, that number has been flat, and it continues to be flat this year. There is an increase in East Windsor Health and Wellness. That's the new incarnation of the Visiting Nurses Association. That increase has to do with holiday programming that they do. Amy and I were looking at this earlier, and it seems to vacillate 1 year up, 1 year down, 1 year up, 1 year down. So this seems to be an up year for whatever their programming is there. And then the Fort Town Fair, we were also talking about in the supporting documentation that's in the books. I couldn't actually find anything supporting their $4,000 request. Other than we all knew that that's what they were asking for. But there wasn't anything in the documentation that I could point to that supports that. Bill, you're probably familiar, but for others on the board, the Fort Town Fair has had some difficulties with all of their participating members over the last few years, most notably Summers, which is the host community. They actually found themselves in a situation where the neighbors to the fairgrounds were actually suing the fair over holding events on property that they own. Kind of like a Blue Barn thing, but so we stepped up during our host year to fully fund, to fund them at a $5,000 level to support kind of the dalliances of one of the other member towns, and we've kind of kept it close to that, and that's where we're doing again this year. We're not the host town this year. I think that is next year. No, the year after. Yeah, it was my first year in, so that would be next 25 will be up. 24 will be up next year. Yeah, 2024. And then the other ones are really just status quo recognition. If you've been to a selectmen's meeting, you've noticed that we try and recognize people who have meritorious accomplishments within the community that are not necessarily government driven. We use funding for that. The Melrose School has been a flat contribution for as long as I've been around. Network Against Domestic Abuse actually has been increased over time from 2,500 to 5,000, but it's been at the 5,000 level for a number of years. They're another organization that we're in their catchment service area, so they just ask us for a donation and we provide whatever we provide. Cemeteries came and talked to you guys independently, I believe.
Can I just ask Jason, they asked for 50, right? And you're the selectman cut to 30? So-
I cut it to 30 and the selectmen affirmed it.
Okay.
I cut it to 20.
25.
No, you cut it to
I
30.
cut it to
Okay.
30, yeah.
25 is what they got this year.
That's okay.
So it's an increase actually, going from 25 to
So,
30.
and
20% increase.
I feel like I ask this every year and I don't know what it is with me not understanding this, but are cemeteries town property?
Yes,
Okay, but run by
by the association.
the association. Okay. All right.
And they have certain endowed funds, perpetual care funds and all that that they can draw from, but they can't draw off of anything other than the interest. So in good years, things are really good. In bad years, they find themselves in a really rough spot. So in the now 16 budget cycles that I've been involved in, they've come a long way in terms of their transparency and disclosure to the town in terms of where their finances are. I would love to be able to get to a place where we can support them at their requested level, but it's just a math thing. I tried really hard and the selectmen tried really hard to come in as close to what you guys could do with a 0 mil increase as we could. And what are you gonna do?
But if they wanted to do something with their driveway, the hose, could they go to CIP, right?
Mhm.
That could be a CIP.
They could go to CIP for that. They could,
They could, but they don't.
right? Yeah, they
I'm
don't.
realizing they don't, but I'm saying that.
I don't recall them ever putting in a request through CIP, but that would be an avenue available.
So the
That'd be
question
that
would be, why wouldn't they? Because every time they come, it's about the roads and it's about
Right.
the,
Trees.
yeah, and that's.
We tried pretty hard not to cut down trees. We don't have to.
Lord. Go down that road.
Too soon?
Too soon. Too soon. All right, yeah, so I wonder, yeah, that is an avenue that should go down. Okay, any other questions? We're good?
So non-negotiated wages. I do have an employee who is a contracted employee whose contract is out. I'd like to recognize her by bringing her up to a level commensurate with peers in the government. So in order to do that, I would need to ask you guys to add an additional 2,000 to the non-negotiated wages line. Otherwise, everything else is accounted for.
Where are you gonna find it?
I'm asking you to put it in.
You should be able to find it somewhere.
Len's not here. H9.
I'll take it on a lens.
Well, I did leave to go for tip off.
He's gonna go home and take a nap first, he said. It's not.
Gonna take a nap, isn't it like in an hour and 15 minutes? Okay, all right, never mind.
I'm sorry, but.
Never mind. All right, yeah, all right then.
Oh, I see.
Any other questions? No? Okay, cool means.
Sorry about the PowerPoint. I'll email you guys. You can look through it at your leisure.
You didn't see it. Yeah, we didn't.
Oh,
Where I saw it. I prefer the thought.
What?
I said I prefer it.
All right, so that was pretty quick for tonight. Now, Wednesday, not so quick. Because Wednesday we will have police commission, emergency management, communication, Broadbrook Fire, and then we will start discussing. So be prepared to start from selectmen, kind of work our way down probably, as we usually do. We do have the 10th available if we do not get where we want to on Wednesday, Monday the 10th. I mean, we might need Wednesday the 12th. I don't think we will. But so Be ready on Wednesday. All right, cool. Then if you want to make a motion.
I'll make
to-
a motion to adjourn.
Second. Second?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion passes.
And get out.
We're good. Great. Yeah, I hear you. Get out.
Nancy, can you stop recording?
Hold on. Oh, good thing. Bring it to the table anyways. No,
Right
you,
where it's at.
yeah, you, but that's